Welcome to the top 3 mistakes that entrepreneurs make while making video. My name is Danielle Benson from Inspired Coaching, and I'm here with Jennifer Shands of Upper Story Films. And I just want to mention that Jennifer Shands is a videographer, so getting her to actually be on camera as opposed to behind camera is a pretty big deal. So I'm very grateful. I hope you are too. Just be aware of that. She's coming out into the light to talk to us today.
Thank you for having me.
I had to do a bit of arm twisting and promises of wine and chocolate. So I'm very glad to have you here today. Thanks, Jen, so much for sharing your expertise today.
Oh, no problem. Thank you for putting this on. This is fantastic. I think it's very useful for people, hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so. Our kind of idea with this webinar was that we both work with a lot of solopreneurs and small business owners who make their own video, either at home in their basement or, with a professional videographer. And there are 3 things that we see over and over and over again. So we thought we'd share those with you so that you don't make the same mistakes that everyone else is making, and give you some solutions as well. So Jennifer Shands is here representing her company, Upper Story Films. You can see her bio on the screen right now. But Jen, would you just like to tell us a little bit about who you are and why you're here?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thanks, Danielle. My company is Upper Story Films, and we make promotional videos for small businesses and nonprofits for the most part. And that's really where my passion is, at least, is helping entrepreneurs kind of get their stories out. And entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs, they're making the business that they're in, they're putting their heart, their blood, their sweat, their tears into it. And it's that story of why they're doing it and why they're so passionate about it, I think, that will help their clients really kind of get to know who they are and get to know them, get to like them, to trust them, and hopefully to buy from them more. And I think getting that kind of story onto video is so important. So that's one of the reasons why I really like working with entrepreneurs who are out there, slogging away and and fighting the good fight. So hopefully I can meet some more and help more people through this webinar as well. So thank you for putting this on, and you should be introducing yourself.
Yeah, okay, well, I can do that. Here's my bio on the slide. My name is Danielle Benson. I run a company called Inspired Coaching, and I am a voice and stage presence coach. So I work with speakers online and also on stage in live events. And my background is in acting training. So I actually trained as a classical theater actor for most of my life. I started when I was 6 and kind of got the theater bug and just kept going for a ridiculously long time. And so my first love was classical theater, and I'm not as interested in acting on film, but I find video for speakers really interesting. So when I decided not to become an actor, because I didn't want to wait by the phone for an agent for the rest of my life, I got really excited about helping other people express themselves, truthfully and in a way, not performatively, but in a way that is public, that is very real and very authentic, because I saw a lot of speakers just not understanding how to use their voice, not understanding body language, not understanding, the very, very simple concepts around stagecraft and around emotionality and around figuring out who you are and expressing that. So that kind of became my niche. And I started working with business owners as well, mostly on stage to start. But video is such an exciting way to get across to people so quickly, because, in order to talk to people live, you have to go to an event, or, you got to dress up, you got to get people there, whatever you're doing, if you're going to someone else's event, or if you're speaking at your own. Whereas video is so immediate. It's in people's living rooms. It's right there. And it's almost easier if you can plug into your passion, it's almost easier to convey that, because it is so personal. Like, we're very close to each other right now. Like, I'm about a foot away from my computer and you're about a foot away from your computer. So we're essentially 2 feet apart. This isn't this huge distance between, the stage, the proscenium arch, and then the audience. This is a very intimate space on video. And I love that. I love how many different styles there are to it. And I love what you can do with that. So that's why I'm here.
Awesome.
Yay. So yeah, I mean, so Jen and I work together a lot. We work together a lot, as in she films my videos for me sometimes, and we work together a lot in that we help clients together. So if someone is filming a video and they need help with the preparation and the kind of presentation, they'll work with me, and then when we get around to the actual recording, we'll work with Jen. So we work together on a lot of different avenues, and we do see the same things pop up a lot. So we wanted to tell you what those mistakes are so that you don't make them, because it's very important to both of us to support people at every level. It's not just about, you know, I'm ready to spend $3,000 in a video, let's go do it. We want to help you if you're doing it in your basement. We want to help you if you're just thinking about starting Facebook Live. Every single step of the way, we want to help you get your message out there in a way that really serves you. These are definitely trends that we see over and over again, and I think starting video is intimidating because there's so much, and everyone's saying you should do it. It's almost like writing a book as an entrepreneur. Like, you should do it. Everyone says you should do it. And you're like, okay, why? How? So that's what we're here. So that's what we're here to help you with. And we will tell you a bit about a course that we're putting together at the end as well. So our first absolute number one big mistake that entrepreneurs make when making video is that they don't have an overarching purpose or goal for their project. Now this is like a business goal or an income goal or an audience goal, not just I want to make a video. But and I know Jen has a lot of experience in marketing, so I'm going to ask you to speak to this, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I mean, when I sit down with a client, the first thing I'm going to ask them is, what is the point of this video? Why, and don't have too many points to this video. You don't want to have it, well, I want to, get people to buy more of my product, and I want to bring in more customers. Oh, and I also want to make sure that they know more about like our company culture. Oh, and I also want to, no, pick one. It is easy to get carried away, but you want one central goal, one central theme, one central purpose, and one central call to action. And that's all hopefully going to point your video in one direction. And everything is going to kind of be based around, providing evidence for that one purpose or pushing that one purpose. And I mean, you can have different elements for sure. You might have some testimonials, you might have some shots of you, your product in action, or you might have some, or you might just be you standing there talking to the camera, which is completely fine. But make sure that you're on point and that you're staying true to, what that one key central purpose to your video is, because yeah, it's easy to start wandering, and it's easy to get lost, and easy to go on a tangent, and suddenly your audience doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing. So make sure that you know exactly what you want your audience to do and why they're watching that video. That's the biggest thing.
So it's not only like having a purpose for yourself, but it's also having a very clear purpose for your audience, what you want them to do. And
I think that's your call to action. Yeah. Yeah,
because I see this a lot. I see a lot of people on social media just making videos and throwing them out there. But you're not really sure, are they trying to build community? Are they setting themselves up as an expert? And there's lots of different reasons to make a video. And video, I mean, even if you're making, just sitting at your desk, doing a little video now, it takes a lot of work, no matter what. Like you gotta prep, you gotta put on makeup, you gotta get your lights right. It's gonna take a lot of work no matter what. So don't let yourself waste a lot of that time, because I see a lot of people just throwing video and they're throwing video and they're throwing video, and they're like, well, where's my audience? Why aren't people buying more of my products? And you're like, well, are you advertising our products? So know why you're doing what you're doing. Each video needs to have a purpose, but also remember that there are so many different types of videos. So looking at your marketing plan, is your video, like, what platform is it going on first? Is it going on Facebook? Is it going on YouTube? Is it going on your website? Because that'll tell you whether or not, is this first contact with the people that your audience, or is this a really loyal audience who's coming back to you over and over again? Because that's going to change drastically as well. If I'm making a little Facebook video to put out there, that's my first contact with people. I'm not going to be selling in that video. I'm not, this is going to be more like culture video, kind of just to let people know who I am, or maybe positioning myself as an expert, frequently asked questions, news about the industry. Jen has a lovely long list of these. But I'm not going to be selling straight away, because they don't even know who I am yet. Whereas if it's on my website, I might have a video of like product demonstrations or something.
Mm-hmm.
So know where your video is, know where it is in your pipeline as well.
Yeah.
And then what you want from this specific video. And obviously you can do lots of videos to have, it's not like you have to limit yourself to one thing. You can make lots of videos with lots of different reasons and lots of different purposes.
And that's one thing too. Yeah, one purpose. But I was going to say, if people want to do vlogging, like they want to do regular vlogging, one thing that some clients are like, well, how do I keep coming with content? Maybe if you split it up into, okay, this week we're going to do industry tips. Next week we're going to do a how-to. Next week we're going to do, like, if you divide it up, so then you're looking for content on different areas, and it might be a bit easier to kind of bring that up. You're not always just in one central place, like, oh, we got to go figure out another piece of product and we got to show people how to use it. So if you mix it up a little bit, it'll also, you might be bringing in different types of audience members that way too. You got people who are interested in, how do I use this? You got other people who want to know what's happening in the industry. You got people who want to hear from other experts. So you can play to different types, but also keep bringing in continuous content, but have a better chance of having more content easily more thought of.
Yeah, and I mean, if you haven't done some research already, this is a really good chance just hop online and just look at people in your industry or people who aren't in your industry. Just what's out there. Do you want to be doing like product unboxing, or, well, it wouldn't be for your business, it would be more like product demos. But do you want to be doing like product oriented videos? Do you want to be doing more lifestyle videos, like you going on a hike and just talking about your life? Like, what kind of there are so many different ways to build relationship. What works best for your business, and what do you like? Like, what do you enjoy, and what do your clients enjoy? What is your audience going to enjoy? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So there's a lot to think about there. That was a very kind of trial by fire. Number one, know the purpose. But it's the most important thing. You don't want to do something if you don't know why you're doing it. I mean, really. Yeah. So number one, know your overarching purpose. Understand where your video fits in your business, where it fits in your product pipeline, where it fits in your marketing plan. And also, if you have different stages, do we have content at each stage? Those kind of things. So knowing where your audience is connecting with this video, where they're interacting with your video, and what's appropriate for that stage. Yeah. And just remember that you got to think about your ROI and how this video is benefiting you, because it can become a lot of work for no return really fast. And I know Jen has a lovely example of a very unlikely video that worked really well because of the marketing plan. So did you want to talk about that?
Yeah, sure. There's a company out there called Roofer Pool and Spas. They're based out of the States. And the guy who was running it, or one of the guys who was running it, at the time of the last recession, their industry was not doing very well. No one had any money to buy luxury swimming pools. So in this struggling environment, he came up with this plan to make a video every night. He'd answer one of the questions that his customers over the years had been asking him. And he wasn't afraid to go to the places like the difficult questions. Why does it cost so much? That kind of thing. And answer the questions that his customers really wanted to know. And he put all these videos up on, I believe, YouTube, but put them all up somewhere online. And it grew to become the biggest resource for luxury swimming pool information anywhere on the internet. So because anybody who had a question about swimming pools would end up at this site, because he had all these, at the end of the 1 month, he had 30 answers. At the end of 2 months, he had 60 answers. So it grew fairly quickly. If you're consistent with it and stick with it, even if it's just one a night, after a couple of months, you've got something there, or he certainly did. And yeah, his competitors were going out of business, unfortunately, during the recession, but he became, the top swimming pool. They got to a point, they were only a local company because they were installing swimming pools in that area, but they suddenly had this global presence because, they're the resource to go to on the internet. They were trying to find ways to actually manufacture and then ship out like to a larger geographical area, so they could actually leverage some of this global presence that they had. So yeah, video can do amazing things for you.
Well,
And
and that is, yeah, that's the wonderful thing about video, is that it is international. So, you know, we may have a small niche or a small tribe and feel like, well, I only, you know, serve these very certain people. But on a global scale, that's still a lot of people, and it makes it a lot easier to find your people and to connect with them in a really real way.
definitely, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I don't know if he kind of set out with that idea of being the number one resource, but it's a, that, you know,
No,
things like that are important to consider.
yeah, I mean, I think he said, like, if he'd known how it was going to go, he probably would have leveraged that more into into his business, because suddenly he had all these potential clients that he couldn't actually service because they were but yeah, it opened a whole bunch of doors for his business. So yeah, you never know where it might take you, and you might be doing it for one reason, and then it might open doors in other areas too. So I guess it's being open to that kind of thing, but also knowing, you know, what is your goal? Are you achieving that? And if it's not achieving that, is it achieving another goal? Like, yeah, it's
Yeah, and I think that's the measurement as well, like knowing your purpose, but knowing your purpose isn't enough. Are you achieving your purpose? You know, measure it and adjust. Like, you know, am I getting
yeah,
what I want? Am I getting something different? And how can I work with that in a real way? And I think consistency as well is extremely important. We don't always know what we're building, and we don't always know when people are going to come to us. And maybe when I'm starting out and I'm putting out a video a day, the first month nobody, you know, no one looks, but then someone does later down the line. And if I'm not still being consistent, I can lose people so quickly. Whereas if I'm staying consistent, it could just blow up.
yeah,
So also plan around your life and know what you're committing to. So our
yes,
second point is actually also around preparation. So the first point was about, you know, knowing your purpose, knowing why you're doing this and what you're doing it for. But a huge part of preparation is, you know, you as the person who is in the video, what you have to do to prepare. So the second biggest mistake that we see is being underprepared on the day. And Jen, again, I'm just going to ask you, I have lots to say on this because this is mostly my job, is getting people ready. But Jen, do you want to talk a bit about what it's like when someone shows up unprepared as a videographer?
yes. Well, in most cases, if I'm showing up as the videographer and the person that I'm filming is the content, there's only so much I can do. I set it up, I will light it, I will mic you up, I will get the camera rolling, but I can't I can't create the content. So it's up to the person in front of the camera then to take over, and then to be as engaging and exciting and know their material, and you know, it's knowing what you're doing and being able to repeat it too, because I guarantee you it's never going to happen the first time around. There's going to be something will go wrong. Your hair will be in your face for whatever reason. A truck will go by outside. A dog will bark. A plane will go by. The heat will come on. Most of the issues are sound related.
It's always sound.
But yeah, a million little things can and will go wrong, and it's being able to also roll with that punch. Like, you might have just said a 5-minute piece and you're right at the end of it, and something, you know, you suddenly realize that, you know, your scarf is hanging off you, or, you know, your earring isn't in, or you know, something like that. And I hate to say it too, because I might be watching you through the camera, but I'm not watching you necessarily for stuff like that. Like, I'm not looking for your makeup and your hair. I'll try to keep an eye on that, but I'm more interested in the technical aspects of what's going on, framing, what are the levels on the microphone, you know, is that a dog barking and is it coming through too loud? Like, I'm paying more attention to that kind of thing. So I might glance up and be like, oh, we got to do that again. You know, your hair is falling all over the place, something like that. So, yeah, there's a million little things that will go wrong.
There's always more that's going to go wrong. You think you've prepared for everything, but you never have. There's always more.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a really good
So
point.
the more that you can prepare, the easier will be on the day to be like, okay, let's back to ones, let's do it again, and do it again.
And prepare for things to go wrong, because they will, and you have no control.
Yeah.
But I like that point too. Like your videographer, even if you have like a camera person and a sound person, or they are doing their job and they are multitasking. And it's really important for you to know before you go in what your responsibilities are and what their responsibilities are. So, some videographers are lovely. I mean, I know Jen will like do her best to be a smiling face, friendly face behind the camera so that you've got someone nice to talk to. But even so, it's your responsibility to bring the content. It's your responsibility to look after all of your stuff, which includes the way your hair looks and making sure that you say the same thing over and over again and not hitting yourself while you're talking. And what I mean by that is, like, a lot of people will go like this when they're wearing a mic. I'm not wearing a mic, so it's not going to piss off the sound right now. But if I was wearing a microphone and I said, for me, and hit my chest, which is a very natural thing to do in conversation, that's the take gone. You got to do it again.
Yeah.
So it's really nice to have a buddy, and just bring a friend of yours, or if you have an assistant, someone to help you with all that stuff. Like, is your hair okay? Is just continuity. Is your shirt sitting the same way it was the last time you did the take, because you're doing the same thing over and over again, and you want to be able to in between.
Your necklace, is the necklace riding up the side of your neck? Like,
so many little things.
But it's because you're so, like you were saying, that intimate space, because we're so close, we pick up on that stuff. You wouldn't in real life. Like,
no,
you just, but in video, because there's no, it picks everything up, and you see it all.
And because you want to be able to edit. So, I mean, I always try and approach video, especially if I'm doing a direct address. So this is a direct address. I'm speaking directly to the camera. Especially in a direct address, I try and do everything in one take because it's so much easier, and it makes editing easier. However, you will probably always have to do 2 or 3 takes anyway, even if you're doing it all in one take, because
especially
if something goes wrong with the sound, it's good to have a backup. And if something does go wrong and you do need to use that backup, you may need to be splicing between, even if you're doing everything all in one take, it may still get edited. Multiple takes may still get edited together. And most people don't do everything in one take. Most people are not able to be succinct and energized and say the right thing and have everything going for an entire video. Most people do it in chunks. So you have to be really aware of continuity in not only in what's going on physically, but in your speech as well. So saying the same thing every time. If I say, hello, my name is Danielle Benson, and my company is Inspired Coaching, and I trained as an actor the first time, I can't say the second time, hi, my name is Danielle Benson, I trained as an actor, and my company is Inspired Coaching. Even though it's exactly the same content, that's not editable together. So you got to be really, really aware of what you're saying and how you're saying it without appearing rehearsed, without being like, I am here today to speak to you about my very exciting video, because that is the danger of memorization, is that it turns us into these like cardboard cutout robot people. So that's the thing that I work with people on the most is how to be succinct, how to be prepared, but still how to be yourself. Yeah.
That's the magic of it, and that's the hardest thing to achieve, really.
Mm-hmm. I did like what you said about sound is always the thing that goes wrong. Just on a very technical, this is just extra information for you because we love you and we want you to do well. Sound is less forgivable than lighting. So you have a theory about this, Jen?
Yeah, well, just in general life, when you're looking around the room, if you blink, your eyes, they go out of focus slightly, and you don't even notice it because it happens like 1,000 times a day continuously. Like, that's how we live. Our eyes are a little bit out of focus. We focus on something far away. We focus on something close. Everything goes out of focus briefly. We're used to it. Not so with sound. And because of that, a picture in video is much more forgiving than sound is. If your sound quality, if it's hard to hear, people just won't listen. They'll get irritated. They'll get annoyed. They'll turn it off, because trying to listen to something that just sounds bad is almost painful. Trying to watch something that's a little bit out of focus, the light's off, or there's something a little bit off about it, you can, if the audio is coming through clearly and you can understand it, you'll forgive it. much more. A Blair Witch Project is it's a good example. They spent a lot of money making that bad sound good enough to like carry the story, basically, because that's almost how you get most of that story, and that's what makes that slightly bearable to watch.
Well, yeah, and I think also it's probably true that it's easier. I mean, again, we don't know where you're at as far as doing it on your own or having other people do it for you, but it's also a lot easier to fix kind of color correction and lighting in post in the editing process than it is to fix sound.
Yeah, if you've got a really bad sound, like if it's popping every time you say like "buh" or "tuh" or something like that, it's gonna drive somebody crazy fixing it, whether it's you or whether it's the editor you hire. It can be a nightmare. Whereas, yeah, lighting, color correction, it's almost a given that you're gonna fix that and tweak that a little bit anyway. But again, and you can fix it to an extent and then be just like, okay, YouTube will actually fix it a little bit too when you upload it. So, yeah, the sound needs to come through as crystal clear as possible and not be in competition with anything else. That's the thing too. Like, even if your heater comes on or your refrigerator's running or, the dog is barking and the plane goes by overhead, that's all in competition with your voice, and the microphone will pick it all up the same. And it's strange because in real life, you wouldn't even notice it because your ears are tuned to like, oh, that noise comes by all the time. I just tune it out and not even notice it. But the microphone doesn't know that. The microphone brings it up.
The microphone doesn't know what's important and what isn't important. It gives everything equal weight.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that can be really annoying. Things that you don't even notice, like your refrigerator or something. Yeah.
And it depends on the type of microphone too. If you got a little lapel mic and it's on your shirt, then it's probably not going to pick up, the heater or the refrigerator. But other sounds it might pick up, like your earrings or your necklace, are gonna come through way more crystal clear than your voice is. So yeah, depending on the type of microphone is also going to bring you annoyances to work with as well.
Yeah, I just want to mention, just because this is such a great place to do a plug, we do a whole week on this, on the little technical things in our course that we're going to talk to you about later. So if you have questions, you're like, oh, but I want to ask, we don't have time, unfortunately, to go into all the things about different types of microphones and how sound and lighting affect your video. But don't worry, we do have a course on this, so we'll talk more about that later. Yeah, so being underprepared on the day, you always think you're prepared. You're never as prepared as you think you are. Being prepared doesn't mean just knowing what you're going to say. It means having done it over and over again so that you feel comfortable with it, so you know exactly how it's going to come across. So you've worn those clothes before. If you're going to work with a professional videographer, I would always recommend doing filmed rehearsal exactly like you're going to do it on the day, but just on your phone or whatever.
Yep.
So that you've already had the experience of doing the shoot a couple of times, so that you're going to be amazing and you have as much control as possible. If you're working on your own, you have more flexibility because you're not paying someone thousands of dollars to be there and watch you screw up. You can screw up as much as you like, but again, you want to just do it over and over again, and you don't want to wait until the day to be fixing the lights. You don't want to wait until the day to go, oh, framing, what's that all about? What am I going to have in the background? All that stuff should be part of your rehearsal process so that you are as ready as humanly possible. Yeah.
You don't want the first time that you step in front of the camera to be like the day that you're actually doing it. You want to be used to kind of talking to this inanimate object and kind of, because that's a whole that's a whole process in and of itself. Yeah. So if you're stepping in front of the camera and it's go time, and especially if there's like a videographer standing there, charging you $100 an hour or more, probably more, you want to make sure that you're using that time as efficiently as possible, and that you've already done that. Like you've already know kind of how it's going to feel. You already know what the experience is like talking to a camera, and yeah.
And that is why I would always recommend do it on your own first, so you know what's going on. Like there isn't, for most videos, you don't need a professional. you can do it on your own. And that's, again, another reason why we've created this course. But like, seriously, it's amazing how much you can do on your own and look amazing and look professional and look really top quality if you know what you're doing. And obviously it's a much lower investment. So I would definitely recommend to anyone who's starting out in video, do it on your own first, get comfortable with it. And then if you make the decision that you need like a really, like if you need a story video for your website or something like that, then yes, then you need a professional 100%. But it's amazing how seldom you do actually, if you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Not to put Jen out of business, but that's okay.
It's okay.
It'll help you set up your home studio as well. It's cool. So our third problem, which is kind of funny when you look at the first two, the third biggest mistake that people make when they're making video is waiting until it's perfect. So I know I just said rehearse, rehearse until you know it really well. But at the same time, don't let that stop you from making it. Don't let that become a procrastination tool. At some point, you have to put it up there and it's not going to look as good as you want it. It's never going to be as good in the beginning as you'd like it to be. And at some point you have to go, okay, well, what's good enough for now? And I will grow through the process, because there are so many people who just, they practice and they practice and they practice and they work on their content forever. And they never actually get around to publishing. They'll record the videos, but they'll never edit them or they'll never publish them. It is also amazing what people will forgive. We just spoke about, you know, lighting versus sound and that kind of thing.
Yep.
If you look at those river, pool, and spa videos that Jen was talking about earlier, they are not good production quality, especially at the beginning. There's this like weird pump, like pool pump sound going on in the background. It's not, you know, highly polished professional stuff. But because he was putting it out consistently, because he was answering questions that his audience cared about, it didn't matter. They forgave it and they came anyway and they listened anyway. So it's not about looking perfect. It's not about coming across as this amazingly professional, polished thing. Yes, it's nice. Obviously, you want to do as much as you can to, you know, honor your image and honor where you are in your business. But the real important thing is about creating a connection. And you can't do that if your video just stays on your computer and never goes up online.
Yes, I completely agree with that. And it's the authenticity. Honestly, authenticity is more important than professionalism. So in some ways, if you're doing your own videos, you're going to come across as more authentic than if you got somebody to polish them up for you. And that can actually do your business a world of good. So use what you've got. If that's what you've got, use it. But just make sure that you're passionate about what you're talking about. And you're really getting engaged with your audience. That's the most important thing. And coming across as authentic. Yeah.
And that's the thing is this is part of the planning, going back to point one. If you know that you're starting out and if you know that you're nervous and if you know it's not going to be perfect, don't try and make that kind of video. There are so many different types of videos out there. Do start with like a getting to know me Facebook Live. Start with a Q&A in my office. Start with something casual so that it doesn't matter if it's not perfect. It doesn't matter if, you know, the lighting isn't perfect or the sound isn't perfect, because that's not the style of the genre of video that you're doing. Don't start with something super high level. Start with something that you're comfortable with. Be casual on purpose, you know? and then as you get better, you'll get better and better and you'll learn more and more, and then you can up your game. But you don't need to start perfect. And Jennifer's always telling me and always telling her clients that, you know, there's lots you can fix in editing. You can fix the lighting, you can fix certain things in sound. You cannot fix a lack of passion in editing. There's nothing that a good videographer or a good editor can do if the human being in front of the camera is not connected, is not passionate, is not real. And that is 100% number one thing that you are required to deliver. That is your job as the person in front of the camera. That is the most important thing for you to deliver, is this authentic, relaxed, warm, personable person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you can't fix that. You can't fix that with lights.
No. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Unless you're gonna like recut it into some sort of weird music video or something, then maybe. But otherwise, no, there's nothing to be done. So remember that. Remember, it's a place to be selfish. It's a place for it to be about you and your connection with your audience. And that is a really hard thing to do when you're by yourself in front of a camera and you're putting all this pressure on yourself and you've rehearsed a million times and there's lights in your eyes. And that is why we've actually created this course that we're going to tell you about. Because it's hard when you don't have a buddy. And I mean, we'll be buddies for our clients, but if you're doing this on your own, if you're doing this in your basement or in your office, or if you're starting to build your social media brand through video, you don't always have someone there to be on the other side of the camera to talk to. And not having another human being does make it really difficult. So my advice is always, whenever possible, have another human being. Even if they're just in the room, even if they're not standing behind the camera, just having another person around can help a lot. But
it makes a world of difference. Especially like just if they have no idea what they're like, they don't need to know any technical, they don't need to know what you're doing, they don't need to know anything like that. But when you're setting up your lights, just having somebody sit in the spot that you're going to be sitting or standing, and so you can see what the light looks like bouncing off of somebody and what it looks like in the camera. Just so you've got a stand-in to start with, and then switch places. Have them just stand behind the camera. They don't need to pay any attention whatsoever to the camera. Just have them watch you and engage with you, so you've got someone to talk to and respond to, and they can, you know, smile back at you or respond to what you're saying, and it's more of a conversation then. You're not just talking to like a little, you know, black box, basically. So
that lens can be really intimidating. And I mean, you're not always looking at a real camera lens these days. You're often looking at your phone or your computer, but it's still that, you know, if you're not talking to a human being, it does feel a bit strange. Now there are rules around this too, around, you know, where you can look at someone behind a camera in order for it to still feel like the person watching the video is that you're looking at them. Like there's all these eye contact rules. But you know, it's still going to be better no matter what. And for all those eye contact rules, we've created this course called Camera Confidence. So it's 3 weeks. And the first week is about what we were talking about: authenticity, passion, how to be yourself, how to be real, how to feel like you're talking to someone even if there isn't someone there, and how to really make good use of a buddy if you do have someone that you're working with. So the whole of the first week is about that. And then the second week is about all that technical stuff we were talking about earlier. So where to put your lights, how many lights do you need, what type of lights do you need, do I need a microphone, can I use my phone, you know, all those kind of things, the framing, that kind of stuff. That's in week 3. And then that's in week 2. And then in week 3, we look at kind of personal styling and positioning. So looking again at the purpose. Why am I doing this? What kind of videos am I making? Now that I know my style, because I've been doing some videos, because we actively make videos during the course, you know, what works best for me, and really helping you choose your platform, choose your content, all that kind of stuff that you need in order to make sure that you're successful. Thank you so much for listening to us gab on about our favorite topic.